2-second warning as you get towards the end of your time limit, all right? All right, let's get started. So, first affirmative.
Okay, hello, my name is Mohammed Diallo, and I'm representing the Bronx team AAM. I'm on the affirmative side, and I think that stop and frisk lowers crime rate. Scared criminals, if criminals are scared, then crimes won't happen as much. For example, 20% of criminals were found carrying weapons. And with stop and frisk, communities will be safer. So then parents wouldn't need to worry about their children going to school. Police make the people in the community feel secure with stop and frisk. If police keep doing stop and frisk, then there will be less percentage of people carrying weapons. For example, my friend in my building, he was stop and frisked, but it was for a greater cause, and he was found without a weapon, but it was for a greater cause to make sure the building was safe and secure, and that people living there wouldn't need to worry about the building. Stop and frisk includes high security, because it helps improve the crime rates that catch criminals. In the airports, they basically have stop and frisk with the checking of bags of people. For example, if they didn't have this, then things like 9/11 would have happened. And with this, this incident wouldn't repeat again, and there wouldn't be a huge tragedy. Parents wouldn't need to worry that they are making sure that their children, their kids, that are on a safer and they are in a safe environment. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right.
So my first question is, what color was your friend that was stopped and frisked? As in skin color?
He was my skin color.
Okay. And why was he stopped? Was he doing something that was reasonably suspicious?
Yes.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
Alright. So, if you're constantly harassed, because that is what stop and frisk sometimes does, the police are harassing the people, doesn't this make you feel unsecure?
No.
And why does it not make you feel unsecure?
Because it is for the greater good, and that it makes their environment more safer.
Wouldn't parents worry about their children being harassed by the police though?
Parents wouldn't need to worry if they know that for their children to go to school by themselves, they don't need to worry, because then they know that that there won't be a lot of.
But what if these children who are walking by themselves and who are basically racially targeted by the police and stop and frisk, wouldn't parents need to worry them because they are being harassed? It's almost like bullying.
But it's to help them. It's to help the kids go to school safely and to go back home safely.
And how is it helping them if they're being psychologically affected by this?
Please repeat the question.
How is this helping them if they're being psychologically affected by these constant harassments?
Because then the neighborhood will be safer.
But what if they're not doing anything wrong? What if
I've
they're
already
innocent?
answered this question.
How have you answered this? I wouldn't ask it if you had. So how do you feel that these innocent people are being stopped and harassed? How is that the greater good?
Because then it will be a safer environment.
That's all for now.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed judges. We, the negative team, believe that the practice stop and frisk as practiced by the NYPD should be stopped. Now first we'd like to define what stop and frisk is. Stop and frisk, as defined by legaldictionary.com, is the situation in which a police officer who is suspicious of an individual detains the person and runs his hands lightly over the suspect's outer garments to check for any weapons or any other illegal substances. Now the question we have is, what is reasonable suspicion? What makes a person reasonably suspicious such that you can detain them and go to them personally and run your hands over their outer garments? This is one of the reasons why we believe the stop and frisk shouldn't be allowed, because police officers do not adhere to this definition. According to the New York Civil Liberties Union, the reason that many people, especially minorities, are against this, is against the practice of stop and frisk, is that stop and frisk, in the process of stopping and being frisked, many minorities and people aren't treated with the respect that they should be treated as citizens. All they want is respect, but in practicing this, many police officers forget to give them the same civil rights that they have. Also, another thing is that the police are supposed to be protecting the citizens. We're supposed to be protecting the public. And they're saying that the police, in conducting stop and frisk, are giving a sense of security by putting the criminals away and by detaining them. Well, stop and frisk doesn't give them the warrant, first of all, to lock away these prisoners forever. It only lets them go over their outer garments, see if they have anything. If they don't have any possession of anything, that they can't further continue to pursue it and issue a warrant. Another important fact is that stop and frisk has not been proven statistically to have any effect. Stop and frisk has been used since 1991 in New York City, and between 1991 and 2002, crime rates dropped by 20%. But in other cities such as Dallas, New Orleans, and Los Angeles, where stop and frisk is not used, crime rates dropped by 59%, 56%, and 49% respectively. So as we can see, stop and frisk, even though it may be a method to stopping criminals, it is not a very effective method, and it does not implement the respect that we have to have toward our fellow citizen. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, do you think the community would be safer if there was no stop and frisk?
Sorry,
Do you think the community would be more safer if there was no stop and frisk?
I feel like stop and frisk would not have any effect. I feel like it'd be neutral.
If it's ineffective, then why did it drop 20% and the murder rates drop more than about 50% in the last 10 years?
So it didn't drop 20% in the last 10 years. It was in 20 years before that, in that 10-year span between 1991 and 2002. This is before Bloomberg officially started implementing the stop and frisk policy. So these were a mixed result of half and half stop and frisk policies and other policies that were instituted by the previous campaign that was in power.
Would you rather live in a safer world than a world full of criminals and trouble and everything?
I would love to live in a safer world.
So that's proof of my point that stop and frisk is effective.
But the problem is stop and frisk is not effective because the community, through stop and frisk, they feel that they're even more in danger because they feel like they're not being respected and that this good cause that this practice that is supposed to be a good cause has instead turned into a living nightmare.
Wouldn't stopping stop and frisk increase crime rates?
Could you say?
Wouldn't stop and frisk increase crime rates?
Not particularly. In addressing your question, it may increase it by a small, maybe 2%, but if we were to stop and frisk, we have a plethora of other programs that we can implement. We can use technology. There are so many other programs that we can implement in place of stop and frisk that can be even more effective. In going to your point, New Orleans, Dallas, they use a community program where they have community gatherings and they make the public informed such that they can always be on the outlook and they can be informed about their own personal rights. And that program has led to a 39% decrease in crime rates without the use of stop and frisk.
Don't you think police officers wouldn't go to the community if it wasn't high in crime rate?
Okay, so interesting point, they do go because there's a high crime rate, but they're not helping the problem because in trying to stop the crime, they're just harassing the people who live there rather than trying to target the real suspects.
How is it a bigger problem since, don't you think stop and frisk is improving? Since it actually decreased crime rate 20%?
Well, that 20% wasn't fully stop and frisk. That was a mix between half of the stop and frisk policy and the other mixed policies that were implemented during that time. The full stop and frisk hasn't been that effective, and there haven't been any official studies done by any organization that prove that stop and frisk was effective in this last 5-year period.
Okay, I'm finished.
All right, perfect.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amani, and I'm speaking for the affirmative side with the Bronx 8 a.m. team. Right. Okay. The NYPD should increase its stop and frisk rather than take it out because it helps keep the community safer. That's the job of the NYPD. Their job is to make this community a better place for everyone. A criminal can be walking around, wandering the streets with people and children without us even knowing. And the stop and frisk actually is accurate. Even if it lowers crime rate by 0.1%, that means it's accurate. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about. Mayor Bloomberg's stop and frisk policies cut the number of murders in half. CNN, this is an article I got from CNN. Over the past 10 years, a 50% decrease in murder happened. There were 5,430 murders in New York City alone. Compare that with the 11,050 in the decade before that, before the policy was accurate. And the other team spoke about bias. But think about it this way. The only reason the NYPD would target a certain amount of people or group of people or a neighborhood, it's because in that neighborhood, that's where most of the crimes happen. So of course they're gonna go mostly stop and frisk in that area. It's very natural. And lately, technology has increased. I was looking at an article online yesterday about this new technology where, I forgot what it's called, but it scans. It's in the police. It's put in cars and trucks and police cars. And this technology basically scans a person head to toe. So police don't have to go and search someone without any reasonable suspicion, as they said. If they indicate any weapon or any harmful object through the scanner, they can just go and stop that person. So that proves that it's not bias. It's whoever they find suspicion of, that's who they're gonna stop. And Ray Kelly, the commissioner, says that this will reduce the stop and frisks because they will only have to stop people that are detected to have weapons. I think I'm done.
All right.
So first question, how does the affirmative team define stop and frisk?
Stop and frisk is when police find reasonable suspicion, stop you and tap you down.
And then in referring to the technology, if we have the technology and we can rather scan them from a distance rather than going and patting them down, that is not what stop and frisk is. That's an alternative to stop and frisk. And so your team itself is saying that there is a viable alternative rather than going to each individual and patting them down. You can use this software and technology to rather scan them that way, which is not stop and frisk. Do you not agree?
No, what I say is that it's an improvement to stop and frisk, so people wouldn't say that it's racial profiling or stereotype or being biased.
But exactly, but if stop and frisk is a practice of going up to an individual and patting them down, and if you use the technology, then that doesn't become stop and frisk anymore, it becomes a whole new practice. Wouldn't you agree? So in effect, you're eliminating stop and frisk and you're implementing this technology for this different practice.
No, I'm implying that this is a different way of stop and frisk, a more improved way. I don't agree with you.
But that contradicts the definition of stop and frisk is going up and getting physically involved with the person. If you're using technology at a distance, that contradicts the definition of stop and frisk.
But this technology just gives a more stronger reasonable suspicion than just going and stopping a random person.
Okay. And next question. In addressing your other point about the drop in crime rates, the New York Civil Liberties Union made the point that the murder drop happened before Bloomberg took office and before the explosion in stop and frisk, because stop and frisk has only been strongly implemented over the past 5 to 7 years. But this drop in crime rate happened before Bloomberg took office. Do you care to comment?
Well, there are different statistics into everything, and I found something, you found something.
But that's the problem, because there hasn't been any official study into the practice of stop and frisk that happened these past 5 years. So there are no statistics that support that the practice that has been going on for the last 5 years has been effective. We only know that the practice has happened before that has been effective. We don't know that the practice that Ray Kelly and Bloomberg have put into effect has been effective. So we really have nothing to go on that this actually would work in the long run.
What's your question?
Don't you think that because of that, then there shouldn't be any reason to continue stop this because there's no concrete evidence to show that it works?
No, but of course. Okay, out of the 100%, 20% of the people that were stopped and frisked were convicted of illegal weapon or drugs or whatever. So it does have an effect. If it's not big, even if it's small, it's still an effect.
All right, time's up.
Okay, so to first bring up addressing our opponent's case, they haven't exactly told us what they feel is reasonable suspicion. So in that case, taking it to our case, do they think that racial profiling is a way to suspect reasonable suspicion? So in that case, they aren't technically going for the benefit of society. They're just targeting better groups that they feel is the actual reason for the crime rates, and so they're not effectively dealing with the problem of the crime in the city. And because they're doing this, there's not an effective trust that's becoming evident between the police force and the people. And you need that trust between, not only in the city, if there was an outside foreign attack or even domestic violence within this, you need some trust between the people themselves and the police so that you can go and address any other problems that arise in the city. So you need that connection between them, or else you're not going to have an effective organized system of protection of laws. And so going on with the police force and how they address this, they have a quota system in the police force as to how they deal with the amount of people they're arresting and confronting every time. So they need to deal with that number, and if they don't reach that statistic, they have the potential of being fired. So if they don't reach this, they're just going to keep attacking innocent people. And especially if you're attacking a teenager that's going to school, I don't think they're going to have a gun with them. Most likely they're probably not going to have any weapons, any drugs, or anything. So if you're just going after random innocent teenagers, or young adults in that fact, they're just going to be psychologically distressed. They won't have the initiative to go and perhaps involve themselves with society anymore because they have already been mentally traumatized enough. And so for the future, this generation is the future of our country. So if you're just traumatizing this generation, they won't have the successful impact that you want on this country. And the community itself, our opponents mentioned how they're feeling, they're becoming safer because of that, but in essence they're being ill-treated because they've been constantly been harassing the people of that society. If you're constantly harassing someone, if anyone harasses you, not even a police person, if anyone harasses you, you get generally annoyed with that. You won't be appreciative of that. You won't have any good feelings towards them. You want to get away from them. You don't want to associate with them. So this isn't effective as it is. And there's a number of other ways that they can go about doing this. Instead of stop and frisk, they can always think of other methods of doing it. Because even if there was a 20% success rate, as we mentioned through our statistics, there's been a decrease in crimes through other means, and they haven't even used stop and frisk in their initiatives. So if they can achieve that level of decrease in crime rates, then I'm pretty sure New York City can do that as well. Oh, yeah, so please look for art sake of
Okay, my first question. If these people that were innocent, if they have nothing to hide, then why be afraid of the police?
Because once, as I already said, if a person gets harassed as many times as they have, you get psychologically distressed as it is. If you take a person, they've already been attacked that many times, they've been accused of carrying guns, weapons, etc. So obviously that has detrimental effects in the long run.
Alright, so you can stop and frisk affected people physically, emotionally, mentally, and verbally more than it helped the community?
Yes, in essence, yes, I do. Because 20%, yeah, that is a significant number to consider, but if other cities could get their crime rates down even lower than that without the use of stop and frisk, then that's amazing in essence, and that way the city can do it as well. And if you look at the traumatizing effects that they have, it's not going to benefit anyone because you have that. And if it's this generation that's having that issue, they won't be able to productively work for society later on, and they won't be able to go on with education, etc.
All right, so you think the NYPD's job should be worrying about people's feelings and emotions instead of making their community a safer place for them to be in?
Well, I think they should be able to go about making the community safer, but in the same way, not going about abusing a person's emotions or physically abusing them or causing them to be unemployed for some cases. If they're being put in jail cells and they can't attend work, they're just going to be unemployed. You're hurting an entire family there. That's not what the police is trying to do. They're trying to effectively keep this community safe. And if you're doing that, you're not helping as much as you want to.
Okay, and you also stated that the NYPD are stereotyped and biased, but studies showed also that there are some whites in Manhattan that were stopped and frisked also and were convicted of crimes too. So it's not being totally biased, as you guys said.
But aren't the other groups significantly higher than those whites?
But think about it,
frisked?
who commits most of the crimes? Which neighborhoods are they in? Aren't they usually in Black and Latino neighborhoods?
Can you effectively say that? Have you actually gone to those other neighborhoods, seen the crime rates? Maybe they're subtle crimes that nobody's ever seen. Have you monitored through those situations too?
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You guys said it's basically bullying, but why would it be bullying if you have nothing to worry about? Police are only checking you and making sure the community is safe. One statement that was said is that it lowers crime rates. In 1990, New York had 5,207 criminals, and in 2011, there were only 1,006, which proves that stop and frisk help. Protect people, meaning CNN states that over the past 10 years, crime rates have decreased, and it's keeping our community safer. Citizens feel the need of police. Who else are we going to call on? Dennis C. Smith stated in CNN, New York was a leader in showing that police officers would do more than solve crimes. They could reduce them with more active techniques, such as stop and frisk. You guys are stating that we didn't clarify reasonable suspicion, so I'm clarifying it. Reasonable suspicion is a tip or evidence that shows that someone is doing something suspicious. Which, if we have reasonable suspicion, or even probable cause, then we can stop and frisk someone. So say if that person had a gun or a knife or any type of weapon on them, then we just save the whole community from a tragedy. If a crime happens, who do you call? Police make us feel secure, which is a part of the Fourth Amendment. Our citizens need secure and safe environments, and that's what stop and frisk does. If you are not doing anything, why worry about being unsafe? Police have more jobs. With more jobs, meaning more public, meaning more police on duty, and more criminals in jail. The whole Boston thing, there wasn't stop and frisk, and even in 9/11 it wasn't stop and frisk. So if we had stop and frisk then, we could have prevented those things from happening, or even those things would have never happened. It declined crime rates. Stop and frisk declined crime rates in other cities such as Philadelphia. Police are sent to all neighborhoods, even white minorities. In Lower Manhattan, it's proven that stop and frisk, they have been stopped and frisked too, and some of them have even been caught with weapons. So how is that racial profiling? All are being treated equal. So stop and frisk is a loyal, effective system that helps get criminals off the streets and better the communities, and people feel safe. Yes, we feel for the innocent people that's being affected by stop and frisk. But what about the most percentage that's criminals? I'm done.
Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed judges, many of you will agree that united we stand and divided we fall. When the very police officers that are supposed to cooperate with us are harassing us in the very streets of New York, you know there's something definitely going on. The stop and frisk program is ineffective. No research has truly proven the effectiveness of New York stop and frisk, and the small number of arrests, summons, and guns recovered demonstrates that the practice is ineffective. But Commissioner of the NYPD, Ray Kelly, himself said a large reservoir of goodwill was under construction when I left the police department in 1994. It was called community policy, but it was quickly abandoned for tough-sounding rhetoric and dubious stop-and-frisk tactics that sowed new seeds of community mistrust. Why would we want to call the police when they're the very people who are harassing us in the streets? Why would we want to give them information, especially when they need it? If you know that there's someone in your community that's doing something wrong, but the police officers are not someone that you can cooperate with, then how is this going to help the safety of the people, which is the overlying goal of stop and frisk? It also puts officers at risk. Many officers are given a quota that they have to fill like 50 stop and frisk searches a day. How is this helping when most of those people might be innocent? And this reasonable suspicion definition is also is unreasonable because many officers don't really use reasonable suspicion. And because you cannot fully erase the bias in a person. When you grow up with prejudice, it's something that influences what you do later on. It's an ineffective use of officers. Why are we using officers for stop and frisk searches when we can use them for better surveillance ideas? The other thing that was mentioned was that many stop and frisks actually also happen in predominantly white neighborhoods. However, statistics shows that even in neighborhoods that are predominantly white, Black and Latino New Yorkers face disproportionate brunt. For example, in 2011, Black and Latino New Yorkers made up 24% of the population in Parksville, but 79% of stops. This on its face is discriminatory. Guns are also found in less than 0.2% of the stops. That is an unbelievably poor rate for such an intrusive, wasteful, and humiliating police action. Yet, stop and frisk has increased more than 600% under Bloomberg and Kelly, and the rate of finding guns is actually worsening as the NYPD stops more innocent people in each year. Now just imagine it. You're going on your way to school, you're going on your way to work, and you're stopped just because of the color of your skin, just because of the way you're dressed, the way you look. Is this really reasonable suspicion? And I also agree that many people who know that the police are looking for them won't act reasonably suspicious. So officers that are trained to look for reasonable suspicion, it's actually ineffective because people won't act reasonably suspicious. Innocent teenagers, many stories are told by them that they are stopped and frisked. One story is actually of an officer who was sitting with his senior officer and they're going down for a car ride. And then it was found out that that officer had not filled out his quota actually. And so when they saw two innocent teenagers, they actually stopped and frisked those teenagers to fill out that quota. And the officer told them, what I'm doing is wrong. So why are we breaking the very foundations of American morals? Why is it that the culture pot that we call New York, we are going against it by bullying? When you are bullying, the victim is innocent too, but they still get bullied. So the argument that bullying has nothing to do with this is ineffective. It actually has a lot to do with it. So this ends my case, and I agree that